What is the primary role of the school leader? So we all have different roles in our life, right? Some of you are a school leader, a mom, a grandma, a sister, a wife, a friend, a neighbor. We all have different roles that we play in our life. And in each of the roles that we play in our life, there are different responsibilities that we need to take action on. Now, in each of those roles, there is a primary role. There is a primary responsibility that you have that comes before anything else, and that you can't delegate to anyone else. Hi, I'm Connie Wolshansky, mama of 4 and creator of the School of Excellence system. And I'm on a mission to help early childhood leaders build and sustain schools of excellence. So if you want to create a collaborative culture, build efficient systems in your school, and design an environment that can grow your team, then you're in the right place. In the last 15 years that I've been working in the early childhood field, I've become deeply passionate of helping leaders with their mindset, their skills, the tools, and the strategies to build their schools. So each week, I'll share strategies, advice, coaching, and inspiring interviews. I know that you want to create a ripple effect in your school and your life. So let's do this together. So let's take, for example, the mom role, okay? As a mom, you have like hundreds of responsibilities. So what I want to do here is I want to even just make a list here of a bunch of responsibilities that you have as a mom or as a dad, even if you're watching this. So let's start with some of the basic stuff, right? We're like just keeping the house together. So we have cooking, we have cleaning, shopping, laundry, bedtime routine, morning routine, linen, like cleaning the linen. You have snacks, pantry you have to take care of, finances, clothing for your children, shoes, and the list goes on and on and on. And this is just like a real like amateur list. Like there are so many other things that you need to take care of as a parent. But if you look at all these things, these are all tasks that you can actually delegate to anyone. Somebody else can cook, somebody else can clean, somebody else can shop, someone else can do laundry, somebody else can clean your linen, fill up your pantry. You can have someone else take care of, making sure the financials are run. Now you still need to know, but someone else can take care of that. You can do clothing shopping online and have it delivered. There's always a primary piece that no matter how much money you have to hire personal people for all of this stuff, that you never delegate. And that's the relationship that you have with your child. The morning time that you spend with your child, the bedtime routine that you do with your child, that relationship, you never delegate to anyone because you're the mama. We don't delegate that relationship. So when we look at it from that perspective, what if we take this now to the school leader, where you have also dozens of responsibilities? So what I want to do here is I actually want to list out some responsibilities that you have as the school leader. So part of your job as the school leader is you need to take care of tours and enrollment. You need to take care of the financial health of the business. You need to take care of teachers. You need to take care of parents. You need to take care of observations, emails, paperwork. And the list goes on and on and on. Now, here's the thing about your list of responsibilities as a director. And we're not going to have a conversation here about what can be delegated, if you can afford to delegate, if you have people to delegate. Right now, I want to talk about the primary role as the school leader. All right, so if we think about the primary role, the most important thing that you never delegate to anyone, Even if you have an unlimited budget and you can hire tons of people to help you in the administrative team, here's one thing that we never delegate to anyone, and that is teacher relationships. We don't delegate this to anyone. Not your curriculum specialist, not your enrollment specialist, no one. No one takes the role of the teacher relationship because you're the director. And that is the most important thing that you need to take care of. Yes, are finances important? Of course they are. Is running tours important? Yes. Is understanding the financial health and the CRM system and accounts receivable important? Of course. But there's one thing that nobody else can do, and that's this: teacher relationships. So let's get practical. How does this all fit in together? Well, let's take a look at your calendar for the week. When we know that our primary role is teacher relationships, then when we're sitting down to plan our week, we need to make sure that that activity of teacher relationships is the first thing that gets into our calendar. Now, if you don't know how to plan a calendar and you don't know how to actually choose or actually just set up a calendar, then make sure to watch our episode on how to create a calendar. Okay, so let's go back to the drawing board here, right? So let's just make that quick list again where we had like tours and we had, finances and we had observations and we had parents, we had paperwork, we had phone calls, and let's say like social media, marketing, right? All this activity that you have in your day. Now, let's look at this list over here and let's choose what are the most important things that need to get on your calendar first. Because here's what happens. If you don't put it on your calendar, guess what's going to take up your day? Paperwork, phone calls, social media, Facebook, Instagram feeds. That's going to take up your entire day. I always say this to every director. Do you know that you can be busy all day, literally just standing in the hallway? Do nothing else. Park your chair in the hallway. You will be busy all day because there will always be someone that has a question to ask you. Always, the whole day. So, and I know that you're laughing out loud right now because it's true. So if you don't want to be sitting in the hallway all day answering people's questions and you actually want to be building and growing your school and raising the quality of excellence, then you have to be intentional about what you're going to be doing in your day. So that is, the first thing is teacher relationships. Well, number one on that list is gratitude. Making sure you make time for the gratitude matrix. And if you haven't had a chance to watch that video, make sure to watch our video on the gratitude matrix, which is our metrics for retention. Now, the next important thing that needs to get on your calendar in the top 5 things is always going to be something in relation to enrollment, especially if you're not at 100% capacity. So that's the next thing that's going to get on your calendar is enrollment, right? Making the time on your calendar to either do tours, follow up with prospective families, right? Or answer the phone. Now, the other thing that's definitely going to be in your top 5 is classroom observations, right? Because we all know that in order for your school to grow, you need to make the time to get into the classroom. So far we have on our top list is gratitude, enrollment, which is usually something correlated with finance, and classroom observations, which is another component of teacher relationships. Another thing that's going to be in your top 5 list as your role as the director is going to be one-on-one meetings. That personal time to meet with teachers one-on-one. Now, this episode is all about your primary role, which is teacher relationships. And there's a lot of different pieces that come into that. And you as the director need to decide like which one's going to take the most priority and which one's going to have the most importance in your day when there are fires that happen, when there's craziness that goes on, because craziness is going to happen all the time. And that can never be an excuse not to do gratitude, not to do classroom observations, not to do the one-on-ones, not to do tours. Like, we can't just say, oh, but there's always emergencies. Well, maybe we need a different set of skills if we think that our job is just to put out fires all day. It's not. Again, primary role, teacher relationships. So I want to role play for you the importance of the teacher relationship piece so you really see it in action, okay? Let's say you're sitting down and you finally made the time to have a one-on-one with a teacher. So you're sitting here in your office, you got your notepad out, you're ready to take notes, you're listening to the teacher, she's sitting right across from you, and while you're having a conversation, all of a sudden you get a buzz, beep, and you pick up the phone, and you're like, hello, and you start having a conversation with whoever's on the phone. Hey, yeah, sure, you know what? I'm actually in the middle of a meeting right now, so if you can please call me back, I'll talk to you in about 20 minutes. And then you hang up the phone. Now, you think that that was professional, right? Where it's just like, hey, I'll call you back, right? And you're showing the teacher in front of you courtesy. You're not. The fact that you answered the phone shows the teacher the phone is more important than you. And if teacher relationships is your primary role, then when you're meeting with the teacher, you are meeting with the teacher. And that means that everyone in the building needs to know that unless the smoke alarm went off and we've got to evacuate or you need to call 911, you are not being paged, right? Why couldn't the secretary tell the person, oh, the director's in a meeting right now, she'll call you back in 20 minutes. Boom. And then when she comes out of the meeting, you say, here are the messages of the last 30 minutes. Great, thank you so much. I will call back those people now. You didn't need to interrupt the teacher to tell the person on the other end that you'll call them back in 20 minutes. Just call them back in 20 minutes. So what happens is that when you answer the phone while the teacher's there, if it wasn't a true emergency, the teacher feels ignored. Now, if you don't feel that way, let me take it even further. For those of you that are in a relationship, when you're trying to have a conversation with your husband and he's saying, I hear you. Yup, I'm listening. I'm all ears, babe. I gotcha. I'm listening. Seriously? Is he listening? No, he's not listening. He's half listening, but he's on his phone. And does that piss you off? Yes, it does. Nobody wants to have a conversation with someone who's on their phone. Your teachers don't either. When you're having a conversation with them, if your primary role is teacher relationships, then it has to be your primary role, right? So let's take, for example, the financials, right? When you're sitting down and you're reading your P&L statement and you're making all these like calculations and trying to figure out the profit, the loss, the percentages of the profit for next month, and someone comes in and interrupts you, you lose your entire train of thought. You're like, oh my gosh, where was I? I was just in the middle of adding like 7 numbers. Super frustrating, okay? And if it happens 3 or 4 times, you go and you put like a deadbolt on your door so people stop interrupting you. Or if you're like some directors that still struggle with boundaries, you do the P&Ls on Sunday when you're home or when everyone leaves the building so that nobody interrupts you. And that is not a way to operate to be able to be sustainable. So let's go back to the teacher example, right? When we do that once, it's fine, people forgive. But if we're doing that consistently, and when we're having conversations with people, we're consistently getting interrupted, teachers do not feel seen and heard. And when they don't feel seen and heard, they're out. They're out the door. It doesn't matter how much you pay them. It doesn't matter how many benefits you give them. They're out because they don't feel seen and heard. And so when you think about like, oh my gosh, like if I answer the phone in the middle of a meeting, then the teacher's going to leave. No, I don't mean she's going to leave tomorrow. I mean that when we repeat that over time, again and again and again, we're ignoring the teacher's needs and they don't feel seen and heard, then they're going to look for employment elsewhere. And for more information on how to improve your retention, make sure you watch our gratitude matrix video, which is our #1 metric for retention. So let's go back to the piece of how to make this practical, which is your ripple effect challenge. The next time you sit at the crossroads and you're thinking, okay, should I spend 30 minutes doing paperwork, or should I go into a classroom, or should I do this, or what should I actually focus on? I want you to answer this question first. Have I done something meaningful or shown gratitude to one of my staff members today? And if the answer is no, that's fine. Pull out a card and write a handwritten thank you card to one teacher. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to write the card. And then you're doing your primary role, teacher relationships. And then you have 25 minutes for paperwork. And here's what I know about Parkinson's law. Whatever time you give to the paperwork, that's how long it's going to take. You gave 25 minutes, you'll figure out how to do paperwork in 25 minutes. You gave yourself an hour for paperwork, it's going to take you an hour to do paperwork. So make sure that teacher relationships, which is your primary role, always takes that first precedence. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe using the bell so that you get notifications when we release videos twice a week.